So as we enter into our first midweek period here in Lent, the focus of our overarching theme is this idea of the Holy Spirit on the move. And it's really kind of funny that the first place we're starting is actually in the Old Testament, when the Holy Spirit was much a different idea. We didn't really have this really formed sense of who the Holy Spirit was. And so we have this story in the book of Ezekiel, where the prophet Ezekiel has God lead him by the Spirit into this valley of dry bones. And it's not just, some recently decayed flesh and things like that. No, they were dry. They had been dead a long, long time, which is important to the sense of the story. And God asks Elijah a question. And I love this question because I think we all resonate with that in our lives as we deal with loss and change. God asks Ezekiel, "Mortal, can these dry bones live?" And what's even better in my mind is Ezekiel's response, because I feel like Ezekiel in this moment where in my own life, like my wife's been talking to me and I completely ignored what she was saying, and then she asked me a question about it. So Ezekiel says, "Oh Lord, well, you know." It's kind of like that, "What do you think?" kind of thought. And here in this moment, what do you think, God? What do you think? Can these dry bones live?
We know what dry is in Arizona.
Oh, sure.
And how dry it is. And we think, can anything grow, in this place that's so dry? And I think that's where you're going, is that the Holy Spirit can do many things. And this dry place, can those bones live?
Yeah. And in this idea, this almost impossible sense, because I think that for Ezekiel, a part of his dilemma was these are dead and very dead. He can't see a way for life to come out of that. But Ezekiel's not going to question God. He knows better. So here in this moment, God tells Ezekiel, "Prophesy to these bones." And then all of a sudden, new life begins to spring out from these dead, dry bones into something new. But it's not really alive, not yet. And I think that this is something that happens sometimes in our churches as well, where we have this sense of despair, either in our personal lives, maybe we've lost a loved one recently, or maybe some piece of our past or history has changed irrevocably, and we want to rebuild it. But we can never get it quite the way it was before. And a part of this idea of new bones becoming made flesh, becoming new, is the fact that it's not the same old thing. What was before is never going to be the way again.
Yeah, but how do you take that and you say to yourself, okay, then what is going to be new? And to be open to that, because it's really hard. You know what you had before, but to be open to what's new and what's going to happen, and be surprised. Maybe God can surprise us.
Yeah, and
what can be new?
It's a very interesting place, because I feel as if for those of us who, especially as clergy, people who go to church often, for instance, there's this sense that we should know it all. We should be able to figure things out. We should be able to figure out the signs. And when we let go and trust that God's going to do something, even though we can't quite sense what it is yet, I feel that that's where the Spirit enters in, where that breath of life comes in. When we let ourselves admit that we can't get the full picture, we can't be fully in control.
Maybe it's more of God, less of us.
I like that idea. This idea that sometimes, just sometimes, we don't have to be the ones running the show.
Sounds good to me.
Can I just walk away now and let God just do the rest? I mean, God does the rest for us all the time. This is the season of Lent, where we remember that we aren't dust. We can't do anything by ourselves. It's all God. And so in the same way, as God brings new life from these dry bones, something a little bit different perhaps than what there was before, I think that God is bringing new life into our communities still, in the midst of our mourning, in the midst of our grieving, in the midst of our uncertainty. And God says, those dry bones, not only can they live, but new life is coming. And if you trust, there'll be something incredible.
That's the hope in the Spirit.
That's where we are.